Welcome to Self-Perfected.
Nice.
All
Cam
right.
was just telling me, because I remember going over to Cam's place and him being so fucking snooty about fucking coffee. Just absolutely the snootiest. He is like, you drink that Starbucks coffee?
I don't even drink
Gross. I don't drink coffee.
Wait, how did this conversation occur?
I don't know. We went to, I do know where we were. We were in like that downtown Houston area. What's that place called? It's got a funny name.
Gross.
Yeah, Montrose. Yeah. We were there and there's like some coffee shop there. And I think they have donuts there. Is that right? Or did we get donuts from somewhere else? They're like these pink donuts. Like
They might have had some.
so we were sitting out there drinking the coffee and you're like, this is some like real artisan coffee. I think the place was like called like Green something.
No, that it's called Blacksmith.
Oh, Blacksmith. Oh, okay.
They also own the Greenway Coffee.
Oh, okay. That's it. Yeah. And then you'd get their coffee delivered, right? And you're like, this is the shit.
We still get it. Yeah, we still get it.
See?
It's really good.
Knew it.
They roast it themselves. And they don't overdo it.
Yeah. Exactly. See? And you're like, see, this is the good shit. And I was like, I'm not even gonna taste it. Actually, no, I did taste it. And I was like, what the fuck is this? What is this bullshit? This is fucking
delicious coffee in your life.
Oh my god, that's what you were saying. See? I was like, wow, this is wow.
Well, it's like the first time you try caviar or something, I don't know.
Have you ever tried caviar?
Yeah.
Delicious.
I
Fucking
know.
absolutely insane.
Well, some people might not. I'm trying to think of something people don't like initially. It's like when you drink coffee for the first time.
yeah, I did. Yeah, no. And now
I do have a cup right here.
See, there you go. And is that your fancy espresso coffee?
It's not espresso.
No, it's not. What is it?
What are you getting at?
I'm just saying.
First of all, I never had an espresso machine. You're talking about like the Chemex.
Listen, I'm just saying you had to have coffee in a very specific way. It was just all this like it was literally a fucking science experiment watching you pour coffee.
Right. But I have increased my vocabulary, and that method is still very good. But I also realized there was some things that I could improve, like the water quality and temperature and so forth. So now we have a drip coffee maker, but it's still a very nice one. It's literally the best one, period.
Okay.
So,
right. Okay. So
just for those of you who are following my coffee journey, we have moved from Chemex pour overs to drip coffee and a Bonavita. So.
Which should make it much easier for, when people come visit and they drink coffee, not me, but when other people come visit and they drink coffee, they're like, hey, can I have some coffee? You're like, actually, we can make a whole pot for everybody,
It's an 8 cup. So it makes enough for me and Katie.
I thought you said you were drinking less coffee.
Well, it is less. But that's because it's not because I'm drinking less coffee, it's I'm drinking less water. We were putting too much water before.
Yeah.
Now we've adjusted the amount of beans to water ratio.
Gotcha.
So, hey, I was thinking we could do a new segment.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Our segment is, what book did I get in the mail?
Ooh, okay. Is it a book for you or for Max? That's a good question to start with.
I think it's for me.
Okay.
Well,
I'm going to go with it's a sci-fi book.
Okay.
I'm going to go with I don't know the author at all, but I'm betting it has something to do with the future and I don't know, AI or something. Who knows?
Oh, it's actually not sci-fi.
Oh, what is it?
I haven't read any of these yet, but because this is the first one in the series.
Okay. what's it called? Terry Pratchett, The Color of Magic. I've never even heard this. What is it?
Let's see. Imagine, if you will, a flat world sitting on the backs of 4 elephants who hurtled through space balanced on a giant turtle.
Okay.
In truth, the disc world is not so different from our own, yet at the same time very different, but not so much.
Okay.
In this, the maiden voyage through Terry Pratchett's divinely and recognizably twisted alternate dimension, the well-meaning but remarkably inept wizard Rincewind encounters something hitherto unknown in the disc world, a tourist. Two Flower has arrived, luggage by his side to take in the sights, and unfortunately has cast his lot with a most inappropriate tour guide. A decision that could result in Two Flowers becoming not only Discworld's first visitor from elsewhere, but quite possibly, portentously, its very last. And of course, he's brought luggage along. They keep capitalizing luggage, which has a mind of its own and teeth.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, it's like really weird and funny and trippy and stuff. And it's a whole series.
I'm down with
the Ring World series by a different author, so why not throw in Discworld? You know?
I'm down with the whole 4 elephants on the back of a turtle. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. You know?
I get the feeling, because I haven't read any of it, but I get the feeling it's kind of like Hitchhiker's Guide-ish, you know, where it's like poking fun at things, like in a sarcastic kind of funny, not sarcastic, you know what I mean, kind of a funny way.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay.
I'll have a book report later at some point.
I'll have your book report on the next podcast, potentially. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm currently reading the Ring World series by Larry Niven, which is pretty good.
Okay.
Katie's reading the second book of the Hyperion series by Dan Simmons. So just for those of you who have your charts following our book progress, our book journey, all right.
It'd be really cool if we could pull a chart on the screen right now, and then just like Cameron, Katie, Drake, Mitch, Jess, like all the books that they're reading.
What are you reading right now?
I'm still reading Fall because it is a big book. But dude, everything that you were saying on another meeting that we were having, you would like it. You would like it because it's talking about all of the AI stuff going on, all the robotic stuff going on. Like, you would actually enjoy it. And especially there's a specific part that you were making, a point that you were making with the glasses, where you put on these glasses and it's like okay, because this is what's happening right now, right? Facebook or Meta is teaming up with Ray-Ban. Is that what it was? Where they're creating these glasses that will talk to you, and basically they can see what you see and then feed you information from somewhere, the metaverse. I don't know. And so that's already been written about. Remember that what was that website? It was towerbabble.com or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? Where you could just type in any random phrase.
Oh yeah. I don't remember what it was called, but yeah.
It was something. I don't know. Maybe it was
Babble
goat.
Something.
Babble, goat. I don't know. Maybe I'm just throwing in goats.
I feel like it's got a totally different name, actually.
I have no idea. But anyway, there's a website where you can type in any random phrase or bunch of letters, just randomly, whatever, and it's already got that archived somewhere, and then it kind of goes and finds it and brings up that page for you, like, here, that page or that exact phrase that you typed in is found on this page, and this page. And the whole point of that is just everything that could ever be written, anything that you could think of in your mind has already been written at some point, which is really cool.
Hey, where is that? I was looking it up, see if I could find it, but I can't. I don't know what to search for that.
I don't know either.
Library of Babel? Is that it?
That's it.
I don't remember it being called. I thought it was like the Universicus or something, you know. some like
Library of Babel.info. Christine found it. Thanks, Christine.
Okay, hold on. Let's try it. I want to blow people's minds.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna
allow you. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, hang on. There you go. You got it. All right. So what do you want to type in there?
Search.
Okay. So anything up to
Well,
3,200
okay, how about
characters.
this? How about this?
Uh-huh.
Um, so just for context, this thing has generated every possible common. You already explained this, right? I was probably searching when you were talking about
Yes,
it.
I was.
It
I was
generated
saying
every so this is not like it's creating it in real time. It's already exists like as a object. So we're just gonna search it. All right. What'd you have for dinner last night?
what did we eat? Oh, we ate Christine, what did we eat? I forgot. Oh, lemon pepper chicken. Okay, burnt lemon pepper chicken wings.
Who burnt it?
Uh, I burnt it. Drake burnt lemon pepper chicken wings. And what else did we have? Oh, sweet potato fries.
Hold on. What day was it? October 7th.
Yeah, October 7th. That was yesterday, right? Yeah. October 7th.
Oh, it won't let me do.
Okay.
Uh,
Um, yeah, 2023. Wow, an exact match.
look, here's a page. Ready? Here you go.
Yeah.
With random English words.
Okay.
Here's a page. Look right here.
Fractionize, low lights and ravish, flamboyance, baldy, dramatic.
It's just random words.
Tampala. Tampala. Non-guilt, bottomry, Drake burnt lemon pepper chicken wings on October 7th, 2023, because he is silly. And then it goes on with, what is that word? Intertillages?
I like this one. Where did it go? Hold on. I just saw it. Sloshing camel leopards. Okay, let's try it again. Like that wasn't generated just now. It already existed.
Yeah, and you could see it was on multiple pages. Some of them, we chose the one that had just random English words, but some of them are just random characters, right?
Yeah, here's just random letters and stuff.
Yeah. And then it just assembled that phrase in those characters.
Okay. I will show you. I'm going to predict the future. A picture of a math problem Max solved in his head in about 30 seconds.
It doesn't do 30
numbers. Seconds. It's. I want me to do properties. It's an algebra. My hands are like up really high, so it's like type of position. It's an algebra problem that I put on our fridge.
Oh. Wow.
Look at that.
Meritless. Modi meritless. I will show you a picture of a math problem Max solved in his head in about 30 seconds. It's an algebra problem that I put on our fridge.
Bloodbath. Immobilizing Archduke Mug.
That's hilarious. I wish it had the date of like when this was created, you know.
Counteragents sententially probates Wobegon.
Woe be gone.
Oh, but we got to get that. What's that guy's name? The guy from NPR, Prairie Home Companion.
Oh, I don't need.
He's got a, because it happens on they do on Lake Wobegon or whatever. It's like part of the story. You don't know about that?
No.
All right. I mean, that's nuts. Oh, but here, let me show you the picture.
Oh, Nice.
And I had left space in case he wanted to write something out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's why there's space there. But he just looked at it for a bit. And then he like wrote down the answer. And I was like, well, how did you get that? And he goes, well, I was thinking if I take, he was like doing all, it's like the way I would have done it would have been like subtract 27. Okay, 18 minus 27. But he was like subtracting a different number and then adding a number back to make it easier. So he was able to do it in his head. Anyways, and then he came up with the answer very quickly.
That's pretty cool.
He'll be 7 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's
Can't get freaking 4th graders to do this.
Dude.
Or whatever they are.
Dude, you mentioned fractions around and any adult. And they're like, oh.
Yeah, when would you even be doing algebra? Like 7th grade, maybe at the earliest? 7th, 8th. I think I took algebra in 8th grade.
I took algebra in 6th grade. Yeah.
I didn't.
I definitely took algebra either 6, maybe 7.
Like I took actual algebra in 8th grade because it was like maybe you can replace out of it in high school.
Yeah, by the time I was...
You weren't doing an algebra course like quadratic equation and stuff in 6th grade.
Well, okay, I was doing, here's what I was doing in high school, because by the time I was in 9th grade, I was doing algebra 2.
Oh, so you might have been advanced. Most kids start algebra 1 in high school.
Yeah. No.
I happened to do it in some like the advanced kids could do it in what do you call it? 8th grade, where a lot of the kids who were in my track or whatever did 8th grade, but I still took algebra 1 in high school because I didn't place out of it.
Yeah, no, I don't know why I was doing it so early.
Because you're smart. You're a smart kid. You're a smart kid.
Thank you.
But dude, but you know, I like that Library of Babel thing because it really just shows like you don't have original thoughts.
Right.
It's just permutations.
Yeah.
You know, and creativity is not what you think it is.
Yeah.
Because now look, the computers, like you can just create images and stuff.
Yeah. Would you say that computer or that program is creative? You know, like, no, probably not.
People wouldn't, but that's because they have an emotional connotation to creative.
Right.
Because it is creating something.
When you like, it comes from within you. That's creative. Hey,
yeah, but then if there was some artist you never heard of and nobody said it was important, most people wouldn't say they're creative. And then suddenly if they were on the news and everything and everyone was buying their paintings, they'd be like, oh, what a creative art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People didn't think Van Gogh was creative back in the day.
Until he died.
Right. Or I don't know the whole story, but you know what I mean? I'm just giving an example. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't until later they were like, oh, it's genius. They just didn't get it. But regardless, what is creativity actually? Creating is just creating.
It's just creating. Yeah, exactly. Okay, man, there's so many things that I want to say about that. Like the one thing that comes up immediately is, no, I'll save that for later. Let me just write it down. I'll save that for later. But
and now I will recite the entire text of Terry Pratchett's Color of Magic as found in the Library of Babel. Hold on, 3,200 words?
Yeah.
That's like a decent sized high school essay.
No, not 3,200 words. 3,200 characters. Yeah, which is very different.
How many would that be on average?
If you say the average word is 4.
Oh, but maybe that's one page.
Then that's 800 words.
Maybe that's one page.
Yeah.
I bet that's what it is on their thing. I bet it's a page, yeah.
Yeah, so 800 words, basically, is what you're getting.
You know that whole thing of like monkeys typing on typewriters would do the whole text of Shakespeare and like if you had infinite time.
Yeah, it's true.
It actually wouldn't take infinite time. I mean, I guess it would only because they have to physically type it.
Right.
But with this, the computer doesn't have to physically type anything. So it can generate the entire works of Shakespeare. I don't know how long it would, because you'd have to do it where it's not just limited to one page.
Yeah.
It'd have to be, expanded to the size of a play or whatever the particular thing is, right? So
yeah, it would take a little bit of time, but not that much. It would
maybe
happen.
not though.
If it happens.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
I don't know how much time it would take.
I'm looking at
I wonder
that.
I wonder how long it took them to create the other point.
I don't know. It doesn't say. I would love for it to say like which date this page was created on, you know, so that it's like, okay, well, you know, now we're talking about like how interesting would it be if there's some new words in the vocabulary in the future, and then it's already got that in there. You know what I mean? And that's probably the case because it has all these random characters that aren't even what we would consider words anyway. But yeah, I'm just looking at that point of creativity and what is creative, and you know how we have this definition of creativity of things being special in some way, but people don't realize like that they're constantly creating all the time. You know, like they're creating their own lives. Like you're a creator. Hello, hi, you're a creator, right? But what you're creating, you probably don't like, and then you're probably not aware of how you are creating what you're creating, right? And I wanted to bring that up because, man, there's just so much within this. There's so much. Okay, if you look at that stuff that we were looking at the other day, the Chat GPT stuff, the GPT-4 stuff, where now they've hooked up visual to GPT, right?
Yeah.
That is insane.
We talked about it on the podcast last week, I think.
I think we talked about specifically, we talked about the robotics stuff, but the like, you know, that thumbnail with the Pikachu, like his muscular structure. I don't think we talked about that. I think that was
okay. That was a different meeting.
Yeah,
I can't remember because I know I repeated myself in some of it, but
right. But I wanted to bring that up because there were some things within that were just so wild. Of like the guy is literally writing on a blackboard or a whiteboard. You know, switch this with this sequence and turn. He basically makes a flow chart and says, turn this into a working app. Write the code for this, turn it into a working app, and it doesn't. And I'm like, dude,
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, that to me was just bonkers, absolutely insane. Because that is like, now you're not even, you're prompting still, but
here's that part you're talking about.
And memory. So it being able to have some sort of database to write down stuff that it needs to recall at a later time, plus something like this.
So I mocked up this whiteboarding session here, right? This is just totally.
As you're watching this, ask yourself the question, does this capability allow ChatGPT to basically navigate anything that you would see on your computer? To open up a browser and navigate a web page, open up an Excel, write some code for Excel, close it, etc.
But I passed that photo to GPT-4 Vision with this basic prompt to generate the code for it. So it generated the code, I pasted that into VS Code here, and now watch this. So you're going to see step one here is enter your name. Check out the diagram here. So the model was able to see that I had these arrows and it actually flipped the order of these. And I wanted to test if it could do that.
Hey,
sure enough,
real quick.
It does. No.
Okay. So I found that part really interesting because if you were to say that to a human, if you were just to like show that image to a human and you say, hey, can you turn this into like an actual sequence that we're going to use? There's a certain point where you'd be like, that should have been common sense for the human to understand. But to see it as this machine doing this is just like, whoa.
Yeah, like those arrows, how did it know? Like,
right?
Because then you're looking at it like there's some type of comprehension going on.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like some kind of understanding of something. And you might say, oh, it's not real understanding. It's just ones and zeros. And then you might wonder, maybe that's how we fucking comprehend stuff. Like we put this, when we're talking about creativity, I said it's just like an emotional thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with us. Like that doesn't mean there isn't something that is unique about us beyond what a computer is. But the things that we think are our uniqueness, I think are misplaced. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we think it's our emotions that make us so amazing or whatever. And it's like, no, actually that's not. Or our thoughts or
So just on this point, I was having a conversation with Christine yesterday because I had this realization of like, I don't know, we were just talking and then this thought just came up, and it made me realize, like, I used to think that relationships were um, based on experiences that you had with someone. So let me clarify that.
Yeah.
I used to think of relationships like we have a special relationship because we went on some trip together, or we went to some fancy restaurant, and now you share this memory with me, and so now we are bonded for life.
Right.
You know, and now no matter
It's
what
like the reason
happens-
why we give people cards and chocolates on Valentine's and all that stuff. It's like trying to create these memories and experiences and feelings in the person. So now you have a relationship.
Right. But the realization that I was having was like, I don't feel that compulsion with like our relationship. Like, I don't feel like I have to try and create this emotional state so that she knows that we're always bonded together. Like, I don't feel that artificial like compulsion.
And that's a fundamental difference with the point of basing your relationship agreement on principles.
Right.
And that's a very fundamental, profound point.
It's insane because like I just had the realization of like, I don't feel the need to do that. Like, I know that we are connected, and like
look at why people buy things. Look why people buy things.
Yeah.
Like from a company. So the company just focuses on whatever this thing is. I just need to sell something. Okay, I've got a thing. Now let me create all of these points of branding to create a relationship with them. And then they talk about it in these terms of like, it's about relationship building. And it sounds so great. And you realize actually it's just trying to say they're going to manipulate the fuck out of a person's emotions. So that's why we don't let our kids watch Disney and go to Disney World and so forth. Like, because we know they're trying to create that relationship with the child. So they just always want those things.
Yeah. That's interesting because
that's the magic.
I was reading, somebody had written something on marketing, and they were saying, forget about your product. Your product doesn't matter, actually. When it comes to marketing, your product doesn't matter. It's just about what does your prospect want?
Right.
What's going to make them feel good? And then you just talk about that most of the time, and then you give like a little blurb about your product, and then that's it. And I was like, damn, okay.
I mean, obviously, because look at TV. You're watching the best people at it when you watch cable TV, you know, and it's crazy because we don't have TV. You know, and even if you have a computer and you have YouTube and stuff, like we have like premium, so we never see the ads. Yeah. So when I'm saying we don't have a TV, if you don't have a literal TV with actual cable, you probably don't ever notice this. But the only time we see is when we go to restaurants or like a taco business. You know, I mean, I have a TV in there. Yeah. So you start seeing all these ads. So you get to see like, oh, that's currently where we're at with advertising. You know what I mean? The newest techniques and everything, and it's fucking crazy. Man. It's nothing about the product. It's like we'll play a game where we're trying to guess because it's always like closed caption, or it's either that or it's like a sports thing where there's no closed captioning and it's just, and then it goes to a commercial. You have to figure out. It's where like, what is it? What do you think what do you think they're marketing right here? Or why do you think they're doing that? You know? Oh, okay. Somebody was telling me. Oh man, I wish I remembered who was telling me this, but somebody was telling me that there is a commercial. Oh, is one of my students was telling me this. She was saying like, oh, have you seen these latest commercials? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Because I'll go over there every once in a while and the TV will just be on, but no sound, right? And she's like, best way. She's like, there's this commercial where it's like a father and his daughter, and then they're like the daughter's getting married and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And so what are they selling? And she's like, keeps telling me about like the storyline about like, and like the mom is dead or something like that. And like you can tell it's like, it sounds like a Disney movie, right? But it's just right. It's just the relationship of the father with his daughter. And now he's like seeing her off to get married and like so happy about it and all this stuff, right? And like there's tears and it's like this beautiful, wonderful story, right? It's fucking Publix. My fucking grocery store has this like Was it like
Holes.
at every event they were like catering through like
I have
they were like
no
buying their snack
idea.
plates?
I have no idea. It was just like the grocery store. And I'm
But look
like,
at how it works. You get the person into an emotional state, and then you insert the branding, so it's like becomes attached.
they did a great job. They did a fantastic job. Here, the slogan for or the tagline for Publix is "Where shopping is a pleasure," right? And I remember when I was still in high school, one of my friends, his little sister, for his like they're from Europe or whatever, his little sister for his parents' anniversary or something like that, she tried to buy them wine, and she's like in elementary at this time. It was hilarious. So she tried to buy them wine, and they wouldn't let her, and she got so frustrated because they wouldn't let her buy wine because obviously she's a minor. And after that day, she was like, Publix, where shopping is not a pleasure. It is torture. But yeah, exactly what you're saying. It's like they do this thing where they like get your emotions up, and then they insert like the brand.
It's like it's a technique. Like you get the person emotional, and then you can get something in, right?
Yeah.
They if you take a course on like memory improvement or memory training or something, that's how they teach you to memorize shit. You get some emotional image, and then you use that to like tie the thing to. It's not really your.
I did take a memory course once.
Really?
Because I don't remember it though.
If you've ever been to any kind of self-improvement seminar, you've probably had some kind of memory.
That's exactly what happened.
What were we talking about before that though?
We were talking
just
about
like
creativity.
the ads and commercials, and
we were talking about creativity. Here's the point that I wanted to bring up, because before the ads and commercials, we were talking about relationships and how I had this realization of like, oh, I don't have to create that emotional state with Christine, because, and here's the thing. Part of it was like, I felt like I needed to create that emotional state in previous relationships or with, just in general with people, because I was afraid that if I didn't have that, then I would be no one to them. I wouldn't matter to them, And then like the fear there was just like, I'm not significant to them, so I'm not significant. So then they're gonna forget me. I'm gonna lose that relationship or whatever. I don't feel that fear. That's what I wanted to say. It's like I don't feel
right.
like
Everything you do based on emotion just is generating and based on fear of loss.
Yeah.
That's why people do that. You just spelled it out right there. It's like you doing it because you have fear of loss.
Yeah.
So you won't go to Publix because you fear losing some feeling, I guess. Or you will go to Publix.
I will go to Publix because I fear like my connection with my pub subs.
But look at that. Why is Publix creating that commercial?
Because they're just as smart as McDonald's.
No, because they have fear of loss, that if they don't, the customer won't go there. But if it's a really great point, why wouldn't people continue to go?
That's true. I will say.
Why do they need to advertise?
I don't know why they need to advertise, because Floridians here, we have this like very strong like feeling towards Publix. Like all of us, we're very.
That explains it.
We have camaraderie for Publix, right? We're like,
right.
Dude, you come here, you get a pub sub, or you just shut up.
I mean, it is impressive what they created, right? It makes sense. Like they've it's like people in Texas or maybe other places too getting it.
Oh, and there goes Cam. He's frozen now. That's it. He just got taken out by the Texas Mafia. The Texas Mafia? They're the mafia that takes you out whenever you start talking shit about Texas. Oh, he's back. He's back.
He's talking shit about Publix, I guess, because I was comparing it to Buc-ee's. No, I wasn't saying it's the same. It's just people get excited about it. Like they get emotional. Like it's this.
I mean, Buc-ee's is cool, but I don't feel that same.
It's kind of like, but it's the same thing as to why you get excited about your grandma or something.
I don't get it.
No, I know, but I'm saying the average person, right? Like my grandma, it's like you have these memories.
Yeah.
They're not a special person. They're not particularly.
Dang. Is there a storm over there or something? I'm guessing.
No,
I think
it's just that time. There's like a specific time of the day where, although I don't I'm not on video all the time, so I think it's just like in the morning. I don't know.
Okay.
It's weird.
All right. You're
Um,
here now.
But you know what I'm saying? Like someone's grandma is not like the best person that ever lived.
Right.
But in their mind, that they're so great because they have all these memories and emotions attached to that person.
Well, I mean, they really exploited that with the whole lockdowns and coronavirus and all that
Exactly.
shit. It's just like,
Exactly.
but your grandma,
You're gonna kill
grandma.
everyone else's grandma.
You'll be the villain. Oh, dude. Okay. So, you know, we were talking about a different point before we started the podcast, right? Just really quick on that point. Um, it made me think of this. And it was, because, man, maybe I'll save that for another time.
I saw this video talking about the trolley problem.
Uh-huh.
About the trolley problem.
Yeah. You pull the lever and save those 4 people, but now you
There's like people on a trolley track, right? And there's one person, or it's going to go and kill like 4 people or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you have to decide who you're going to save. And it was something about if it's presented to you in your native language versus a language that's like your second language, there's a difference in how they respond. I didn't even watch it to the point where I know what the conclusion was, but I was just thinking they should redo the trolley problem, but it's people's grandmas.
So the one person over there is your grandma
versus 4 other grandmas. And it's not
great.
a lever, it's like you have to wear a mask. I don't know how that would work exactly, but
That's great. No, okay. So check this out. I'm glad you brought up the trolley problem. That's good. I think there are versions of it where it's like, you know, the person, you know, if it's this or that. But
there probably are. I'm sure there's every variation now.
What it makes me think of is if it's different in somebody else's language, or in a second language rather, the way you think in another language. Because somebody was saying to us how if you're taught another language at a young age, you can think in that other language, et cetera, which we already know that. But it's like, why would you want to think in somebody else's? Well, okay, why would you want to think in any other language other than English? And I'm just saying that as you can see the way that other cultures think is what that culture becomes, right? And how the people within that culture or society will operate, right? It's an operating system. Oh man, okay, dude, check it out. It's an operating system. Do you know? So I was inspired to look this up by Kyle, right? Kyle had made this comment after our self-perfected hangout this past Friday. And he said, hey, you know, go look up Ogden, right? The creator of the Ogden list. Right? So I looked him up. I think his name is like Charles K. Ogden. And he was actually very intelligent, was part of this club in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where it was basically, they were the who's who talking about like religion, talking about war, talking about language, philosophy, all this back in like the late 1800s, early 1900s. Like this is like, he was getting everybody.
It was like the first self-perfected group, basically.
Right. He had like Bertrand Russell. He had George Bernard Shaw writing in. He had like everybody,
all
Virginia
the guys.
Woolf,
Wow.
everybody. Ooh. Right. Yeah. And so anyway, at a certain point, they were looking at words, their meaning, and semantics.
Naturally, that you're going to get to that point, you know.
Of course.
Thinking about things at all.
Yeah, I mean, if you're actually thinking, you're actually thinking, you're going to eventually get down to this. Anyway, he says, basically, they created an English basic, right? Which was a list of words that he said you could use. And he believed that there should be one universal language that everyone should be able to speak. And so if you speak another language, you should at least learn basic English. And this is how he described basic English. And it was just like, he had a set body of words that if you use these words, then you could basically get across any meaning, more or less, right? And it was only like 850 words, right? So I was looking at that because that's pretty cool. And as I was reading it, it was basically like what it reminded me of was we have Windows Basic, or what was it? What was it that was basic? Anyway, is basically the operating system for Windows, right? Where you have this basic programming language that now you can put Windows on. And the point that I wanted to make with this is your language, whatever language you speak, your vocabulary, more specifically, is your programming language. And it will program the way that you think. And so, and so even going back to the Library of Babel, right? It's just a bunch of permutations of all the information that you have within you coming up, right? And then certain permutations.
And it's obviously not random in the case of your thoughts, but.
Right. And in the case of your thoughts, it's mostly, okay, so now I can bring back.
Because you didn't just learn language where it's like randomness. It's you learned words and you learned context and you learned phrases and you learned, context. Like
so let me bring this back in because then it's like you have all these words that you've learned within certain contexts and with emotion attached to them as well. And so you want to go with the things that feel mostly good and avoid the things that feel bad. Or sometimes you just go into the things that feel bad because that's like been programmed into you, right? But also check this out. I was watching and I did a little experiment with some of the folks who have TT after the hangout. I saw this experiment and apparently there's an experiment where basically they will take something, in this case, what they used was words. And they had the students or the subjects rather, look at a bunch of words. And they would show a full word like the word basket, right? B-A-S-K-E-T, they would show that word. And then they would show another word like the word, paper, but then with a P missing, right? And they would say, okay, so for that word, you would just remember the word paper. So there's a blank there, but you would just remember the word paper, right?
Like it says paper.
So it says, well, the P in the middle missing, right? So yeah.
Got it.
Or something like that, right? To that extent.
Yeah. Okay.
So they show all these words and they show a lot. You can't possibly remember all. And then afterwards, they show them one by one. And then afterwards, they spend some time showing you something else. And then they ask you to recall as many words as possible, right? And then they have it where you write down as many words as you possibly can. And, you take your time doing that. And then after you're like, I can't remember anymore. I know there's more, but I can't remember them. Then they show you, okay, here are the words that were shown to you. Here are the words that had blanks in them. Here are the words that had no blanks in them.
Are you just writing down all the words that you remember seeing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if you wrote down like a word that, wasn't a part of it, that they just exclude.
Sure. Yeah.
But what they say is the vast majority of people remember far more of the words with blanks in them than the words without blanks, right? And they say they've done this with different types of experiments. That's just like one version of it. But what they found is when you have to generate the word itself, you remember it more than if you're just memorizing. It makes sense, right? Well, what do you get in school? You get just a bunch of memorization. Here's this lecture. Here, remember this, read this thing, tell me what it said, regurgitate. And
and you're not. Yeah, go ahead.
And the point that I wanted to make was, when you grew up, how much of what you understand did you generate that understanding versus you just memorized? And
But generate doesn't mean you came up with it yourself. In this
No.
context, you mean it's like you have to, within yourself, create it inside of yourself
yes,
versus
and,
it's just passive.
right. And I did this. I asked everyone. I was like, hey, okay, everybody, I want you to answer this if you remember it. The mitochondria is, and then everybody was like, the powerhouse of the cell. So I'm like, okay, look, you remember that. What does that mean? And then everyone's like, it provides energy for the cell. Okay, great. How does that work? Crickets. Nothing. Nobody knows. You remember this part, right? But it's like all you've actually done is memorize and regurgitate. You don't actually know anything. It seems like you know things, but you don't, because that's how school works. It just teaches to the mind, right? And what we're talking about is actually creating an understanding in the physical, right? A physical integration of knowledge and a physical integration of knowing, right? And so,
Well, the emphasis is on integrating the words,
yes.
because when you have the words integrated effectively, the knowledge will stick when you comprehend it. The school route is just take whatever your vocabulary physically is and then just try to memorize stuff on top of that. And so it
Right.
doesn't stick because you're not understanding anything.
Right.
You know, you
right.
look at like our kids, the knowledge that they have, they read stuff, but the vocabulary is integrated in a way where whatever they read, they remember it and they can come up with ways to apply it in novel situations.
Yeah.
Like for example, that algebra problem that I showed you. Let me just show everybody again. Still up. Show you an example.
While you're searching for that, like there's so much within this of that algebra problem.
Look at it. You have to subtract, if you were doing it the normal algorithmic way, you would subtract 27, right? Which means now you have a negative number, -9. You have to divide by 3. So that's how you get the -3, right?
Yeah.
The reason I'm showing that in this context is I never taught Max, here's what happens when you get a negative number. You know, or like I never gave him an algebra problem where he had to deal with a negative number on the other side and then dividing and so forth, right? Not in this context. And so a lot of that is him understanding the basic point and then applying it in the moment to something he hasn't really seen before. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's a different, I think it would be significant if a 7-year-old, he's almost 7, can do algebra at that level. If he was in school, it would already seem impressive, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not doing worksheets of algebra.
Right.
The last time we talked about algebra was maybe the last time I said something on a podcast about it.
Wow.
Months and months and months and months. Like we're not sitting around doing algebra. And now I can give him a slightly more complex version. He's still way below the age that he should be able to even start learning this stuff. And then he can apply himself and figure it out without any help. So that's just an example of when you have the vocabulary integrated, what you're able to do versus when you have a limited vocabulary and then you're just trying to memorize stuff. So the school system is like in a way catering to everybody's limited vocabulary, but then also covering up the fact that people have it because it seems like people learn stuff because we're not really checking and saying, does it make sense that they're learning or not? And the thing is, I don't know if there's anybody who wouldn't agree that, at school you just memorize stuff, you don't really learn it. Right. Even the ones who would put their kids in school or support the school system or whatever, at some level they would acknowledge, whether they would admit it to you in a other than totally confidential manner, you know what I mean? Like they
might
do
think
recognize it.
That is what learning is. It's just memorizing things, you know? Because I've definitely talked to people where I'll ask them like, would you rather learn things and actually know it or memorize? And they'll go, memorize?
Like, well, yeah, but it's like they're not really understanding.
I know.
Yeah. So that's just more like they're not processing the point. But even a person who would legitimately say, or genuinely say, no, I want my kids to go to school. I know it's about memorization and that's good. I would say they're being tainted by the survival point.
Mm.
Because it's like, well, regardless of whether that's actual learning or not, who cares? They need to get a job and you need a degree to go to college, you know, to get, or whatever, high school diploma to get a degree to get a job. So they might just think about that and not, who cares if I learn? I don't have to learn much. I have a job. I just go do my job and get paid. And then I can just entertain myself. Why do I need to learn stuff?
Yeah. So, okay. So the point that I wanted to make about that is there's a couple of points. Mostly this, you know, how I know we talked about this on one of our meetings long ago, but I don't know if we ever talked about it on the podcast, maybe. But just this point of when you physically read or when you're reading, it is a physical activity versus like when you're just listening to something, it's not a, you're spending a lot more mental process or mind processing of that information, right? And the point being that when you're actually doing something in the real physical, or when you're, okay, you know how people will get tired when they're reading? People like, they'll just fall asleep while they're reading because they can't read. Not the like, hey, I got a book before I go to bed, I'm going to read a few chapters and then fall asleep while reading it. That's something different.
Because you're falling asleep. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And you're entertaining yourself while you fall
You're
asleep.
not like getting
way.
fatigued by the reading itself.
Right. It's different though when you like go to read and you're like, oh, yeah, I get so tired when I'm reading. And it's a phenomenon that has been happening since reading began. You know, that's why the vast majority of people throughout history have always been illiterate because they're like, I can't do this. I gotta go to sleep, right? Well, the interesting thing about that is you're not actually processing information effectively. Meaning, you know, to that point of you're just memorizing things, you're just like, your mind knows it, but not you know it. It's not a physical thing, which means when you actually go to apply yourself in the real physical world, you're not even connected with what's going on in your mind. You know?
What happens when you put like on a computer and you put something that, like, you want to load a web page and it's like super complex and your internet is not like the best internet, it's kind of slow, and you have like high definition videos and you're trying to watch that, what's going to happen?
Oh, it's gonna lag. Like
It's lagging, it keeps buffering, it's stopping, right? And eventually you're like, fuck this, right?
Right.
So that's the speed at which you're processing the words, and you're consuming a lot of energy to do it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So just to put it in simple terms, you know, when you haven't integrated vocabulary effectively, and that's why most people who can read really effectively, generally speaking, came from a family where that was already happening in the family. So the child downloaded those patterns naturally from the environment, because children, the real way in which they learn is by mimicking. The danger in that point, though, is that people think like you can just put a child in front of something and then they'll mimic it, or an adult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, learning is mimicking. Yes. But why doesn't it work in school then?
Right.
Because you're already outside of your natural learning ability. You didn't use that window to integrate an effective full range of vocabulary. So then the stuff that you would want to learn through that way of just understanding and then knowing it, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the reason why people get fatigued, like you're saying, though, is because they have their vocabulary is not integrated. So when they read it, they're using too much energy, it's too slow,
Right.
and they're just not, it's like a computer where the connection is too slow or something.
And just think about it, like how much of your vocabulary did you like actually learn outside of just memorizing, or learn outside of just, you know,
Most people
told you know?
Well, I would say the vast majority of people's vocabulary was learned outside of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, explain.
So when you, but I guess it just depends on what you mean by your vocabulary.
Yeah. Yeah.
the vast majority of your memorized vocabulary. So, but most people would just call all that vocabulary.
Yeah.
But like your higher level vocabulary, you learn that usually in the context of just memorizing it.
Right.
So you don't really learn it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But your basic vocabulary, depending on where you grew up, you learned through the direct mimicking, copying.
Yes. Okay. So that, right. But that's also very limited, right?
That's
And
where you learn the
it's-
word relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And
That's
then
where
the
you learn the
relationship
word.
being like, and relationship being the emotional thing. That's what you
Right,
learn
that's what I'm saying.
about relationship. Yeah, exactly.
So now it's
Yeah.
hard to change that from just a mental perspective because it's kind of like the memorizing. It's hard to memorize something you don't have already the words for integrated.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean you can say the words. I mean, you actually have them physically integrated versus like in a, and the thing is you can even have words physically integrated, but then there's a lot of emotion and energy in there as well that comes up. And you'll know because like, it's like if you take a word like spider, you know, and it might be difficult. This might not happen if I just say the word spider, but let's say you see a spider, right?
Actually,
or there's a spider near you. You'll react. You'll feel that energy.
You know,
right?
it's funny.
Or a perfect example is the word math. That's an easy one, people, because they can get emotional without having to see math. You can just be like, "What do you think about math?" And they'll be like, "Oh," like they'll start getting all this feeling about it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's an example of a word where you have energy inside of the word somewhere. Because why is it that you're feeling something and memories are and all this stuff? So imagine most of your basic vocabulary is tainted like that, even though you don't consciously experience it. It's like when you try to read something, understand something, you got all this other stuff going on. That
Money is another one.
right? Money.
It's a huge one. And then you can never get your finances right because you're like, every time you think of money, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
You can't even process
You know, and for some people, it's like the word Republican or liberal, you know, because they grew up in this house or this house and they knew these people are idiots or whatever.
it.
You see that thing about, I'm sure that the system wants us to talk about this with Hillary Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about a formal deprogramming for Trump supporters, right?
Yes.
Right. So people are programmable.
Well, yes, they are. And they need to be reprogrammed, deprogrammed.
It's like, you know, when she says something like that on CNN, that was very specific on purpose for everyone to hear.
Yeah.
They don't just say these things flippantly. They don't just randomly go on CNN. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not someone like her.
Yeah, it's so interesting because it's like you can't run for president anymore. I mean, you could, but I mean, no one's gonna like after you run twice and you lose twice.
I don't agree with that. I think she could win potentially, but regardless,
you think she could? Who would vote for her?
the whole system is rigged.
Well, yeah, okay, but okay. All right. I agree.
Who would vote for Joe Biden?
You're right. You're right. Although I did see a sticker just the other day. I saw a sticker on somebody's car that said Biden Harris, and I was like, wow.
No, people did vote for him. Like that's what I'm saying.
Know,
like, it's not rational.
Like,
it's
you
emotional.
would put that publicly? You would say that?
Right, but it's not. It's like people saying like, "Oh, I took my kid to see Santa Claus." Like they don't see an issue with it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right. There's no common sense within it. So, but anyway, so I don't really have a point about that whole thing. It was just interesting because people are freaking out, like, "Oh, they're going to put us in concentration camps." Okay, so basically, you're getting fearful now, getting emotional. That means you're about to be sold, or you're getting sold.
So, okay, check this out. So the point that I wanted to make with all that is, if you can't process, like you don't have the physical integration and it's effective, then how are you supposed to actually physically in this real world, like be effective? How are you supposed to create in the real physical world? How are you supposed to make the physical move? You can move things in your mind, right? Meaning like in your mind, you're like this powerful creator or whatever, but that's the extent of your creativity. It doesn't actually extend itself into the physical world where your creativity is actually creative, where it creates something, right? That's being really like, you are a creator, but we live in an input output reality, right? And so you should be able to look at the output of your life, meaning look at your life, take account of it, take stock and like, okay, do you like this? This is where you're at right now. Do you like it? And if not, you've created that, as in the life that you've been living, everything that you've been doing in your life results in this, which means that's great. That's great news, because you can change that. You have the ability to. But that also means you have to take a very dissective look at your mind and understand your mind, which is very challenging to do. But that's also why we have this group. That's why we have these tools, right? So that you can actually look at your mind and reprogram, like Hillary Clinton wants to do, reprogram.
You're gonna have to pre-program your mind one way or the other.
It's either you or
Either
Hillary.
in one of Hillary Clinton's camps, or
But-
it's in a self-perfected meeting. Okay.
Exactly. But reprogram what is causing you to get this result. Oh man, I got so
And then,
much
and then
good
here,
stuff.
hold on. I want to put a caveat, because that thinking, people might think it's nothing new from the perspective of, oh, that's like law of attraction, right?
Is it?
There are only so many people in a position to really take advantage of this point currently.
Hmm.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like some kid whose parents work in a sweatshop and they literally are just sitting outside all day with flies all over. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but that exists also.
Yeah.
Or like your mother is 14 years old and you live in the red light district in India. That's a reality.
Yeah.
And you have 5 siblings. You know what I mean? Or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
How are you going to take the time to sit and reprogram yourself?
Right.
So it's not as simple as, oh, you just think differently. You just, oh, you know what? I'm just going to create my own reality. Like that child is in a system, and so are you, and so am I. Everyone's in a system. So it's like the people in the system that you can't put it onto the super elite, because they would be in the best position to do it.
Right.
From a certain perspective.
Yeah.
But everything in the system remaining as it is what gives them that position, which is true for everybody. But are they unsatisfied with their position? Are they dissatisfied with their position?
No.
Who's dissatisfied?
The middle class and everybody else.
Well, not really. Like it's all the people at the bottom that are really
Yeah.
dissatisfied.
Yeah.
Like I saw this, what was that video? Let me think for a second. It was, let me just look real fast, because I took a screenshot of it. I don't know if I sent it to you though.
I'm not sure.
There was a, one second, where is it?
What did it have to do with?
It was one of the videos that I sent. Oh, here it is. It was the video about, what is this video about? I think it was a video, it was a Lex Friedman interviewing, I think, David Hoffman, who's some kind of like consciousness researcher or something.
Okay.
But one of the comments, somebody said, I never questioned reality up until the last few years. It seems that nothing is right any longer. Everything we know seems somehow tilted and off center. So, you know, what we've been saying, right, is that's what everything that's happening is, to get everyone to that realization.
Yeah.
They don't know the answer, but they're starting to be like, okay, reality is not as fixed and static and just hunky-dory like I thought. Something's off.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm in a new timeline or some bullshit. They don't know, but they just know something's off. It's like the Neo in the Matrix.
Mhm.
What is the Matrix? It's something's not right. I know something's not right. They have no fucking clue. When they got the red pill, he was like, what the fuck? That's not what I expect. He didn't know what to expect. He didn't know what it was. Well, if you go down, I didn't take a screenshot of it, but I clicked in the comments. I was like, I wonder, because there was like 450 replies, right? So I'm like, what are people saying about that?
Yeah.
And somebody was like, and there was people saying, yeah, whatever. And then there was somebody saying, well, it's kind of self-centered to say that, because it's like, if you had talked to somebody who for their entire life had a shitty life, like, you know, like the example of the people in the fucking red light district in India, like they'd be like, they always knew something was wrong with reality. And so it's not bad for this person to be realizing this.
Yeah. That's a good
But
point, though.
you know, when you go and you start studying all the points of like destiny, what Bernard explained, right?
Mhm.
And one of the points that really is like a fundamental point is that it explains everything that's going on, puts it into context, is, you know, and this was before anything kind of went off kilter,
Yeah.
right? But to me, it was obvious because my life already wasn't working out when I was younger, and I was like, I'm not happy. I mean, I talked about that whole journey to finding destiny in Bernard's.
Yeah.
So I was already open to this. I was already in that mental state of like, there's something fucking wrong here, you know, like, and the system needs to change, and I need to change myself, and to do that, to change the system and so forth. And then if we change the system, that'll empower more people. Yeah, okay, that makes sense, obviously, right?
Right.
But there was the point of, okay, moving forward, the system is going to become more unstable. There's going to be more pressure on people. The people, and he said I'm sure it's on a video somewhere, a public video, where he was like, the stuff that is normally reserved for the third world is going to be at the doorstep of the Western world.
Right. Yeah.
And then you'll have to face the reality. So it's kind of like things have gone on bad enough in there. We've taken advantage of it. And now it's time for us to start to experience it ourselves so we can realize, this is what we're allowing to be done to everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not even so much a punishment. It's just a consequence of like, fuck, this is what we're doing. And so it's not like magically the universe is punishing us so we'll realize. It's just the system is now, it was never going to last. It was not built on sound principles. And so now it's getting to the point of deteriorating to where even the first class. And so it's kind of like this point of, well, you have people here in the first world, first world, who are now starting to wake up. And so I guess kind of going back to my point, it was the people who really see the problems in the world are the third world. But now it's getting to the point where the first world, like we said, the middle class, because the super elite don't want the system to change.
Yeah.
And even the ones like, Elon Musk, his free speech and all this stuff, I'm not saying he's a bad person and he just doesn't want things to change. It's just that he's not even looking at changing the system. He's more like, hey, wait a second. Why are we allowing this to happen now? We should go back to here. Or there's certain things we need to preserve. It's not about fundamentally changing things.
So what's interesting is I have this, I've been listening to these Bernard audios. Right?
Here, I'm going to step outside for a second. I still have my headphones though.
Okay.
I just got to use the restroom. I can still hear you.
Okay,
but I will take my microphone's on the computer, so no one will have to hear me poop.
All right, cool. I'll just share. I've been listening to these Bernard audios on equal money, right? And it's so interesting because we're talking about this point of creativity, and specifically the point of, we're looking at how creative can you actually be. This is the point that I wanted to bring in. How creative can you actually be? Because all the vocabulary that you've been given had some emotional point tied into it. And that's all the vocabulary, and it's very limited. It's not that much. And it's within specific context. And so that's all you really know. And then all the permutations that you come up with of your thoughts are within that limitation. And so then you can't think outside of those limitations. The way that you're thinking is very much just like confined, right? And so you can't actually be creative. And so then you don't create things in the real physical world or in your own life that you would actually want that would be best for you, right? And then on top of that, is what we have created as our system in total, looking out at the world is, okay, so I said earlier, look at your own life. And if, you don't like, what's going on in your own life, that's your output of what you've created. But you also have to look at the context within the whole system, the whole world. Look at that.
That was my point of bringing that in. Yeah.
Right. And so when we look at that, it's like, holy shit, this is what we've created. Clearly, we are limited.
It's like you
in our
can
creativity.
recreate your life to a certain point where then you have to now also realize.
Because look at this.
Go ahead.
Look at this. Because the moment that you start saying, hey, equal money, right? And then describing like everybody will have, food will be taken care of for you. Like,
The basic point of equal money is the money has the value of life, which is equal in everybody. And therefore it's not like, oh, you're really smart. You're like Elon Musk. You should have billions of dollars. And you're just a random person. And it's okay for you to be poor because you didn't work hard. It's like,
right.
Money should be utilized. That doesn't mean you just give everybody $1 billion. It's money should be utilized in a way where it values all life equally. Just like you value everybody in your family, you make sure everybody has enough food in your family.
But wait, Cameron, wait, because the first thing that comes up in everybody's mind, or at least a point that comes up in everybody's mind is, well, then if I have to make sure that everyone, like I have to take care of my neighbors and the world around, then I won't have free choice anymore. Like where will my free choice go? And that should tell you right there, your understanding of free choice, just these words, is very fucking limited. It is so limited where you believe that free.
Yeah. Do you have free choice or not?
Exactly.
If you do, okay, then it can't be taken away from you.
Right. No. But you're telling me you're gonna force me to take care of other people? Like,
well, no, okay, it's like this. I want to eat Italian food tonight. My family all wants, I was gonna say pizza, Chinese food. Okay.
It's funny because you said you want
I
to
could
eat Italian,
choose to go,
and I
you
was
know
thinking
what?
your
Everybody
family wants
else.
pasta. Yeah.
I could choose. Everybody else wants Chinese food. Like, I'm going to have Chinese food tonight with everybody.
Yeah.
Your choice wasn't free. But I could have been like, you know what? Fuck you guys. We're going to have Italian food, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but I chose to then go with that instead because I was considering more than just the particular point.
So here's a question that I asked on our last hangout. And, this is, oh man, let me set it up for you. You ever watch like Pinky and the Brain or like any of those cartoons or whatever? And always the villain, what does the villain want to do?
Take over the world.
Take over the world. Right?
Same thing we do every night.
Same thing we do every day, Pinky. Like, trying to take over the world. But they want to enslave everyone. Like, they want to have the power and everybody else, fuck them. Right? Like, they just do whatever it is that you were doing. But now I rule the world. I am the most powerful being, whatever. Right? Literally, everyone does this to some extent, to the point where it's like, I just want to live a good life. You do whatever you want, but I want to live a good life. And it's like, oh, that's it right there. That's the stuff. Like, it according to all those like cartoons, you're actually the villain because you want everybody else to just be subjected to whatever so that you can be on top. Right?
A lot of people, they post pictures or something on Facebook, and it's like some beautiful beach or something, or whatever, or like some cabin in the woods, and they just like want to go sit there and just be there.
Yeah.
That would be so boring. Like, I'm not saying being in that environment is not really awesome, but in itself, just sitting and doing nothing, don't you want to do stuff?
Yeah.
And then with the system as it is, who actually has the fucking life they want anyways? Don't you have to go and work and do a bunch of shit you don't want to do for most of your life?
Right.
So what are you really giving up here?
Right.
You're going to have to work anyways.
Right.
You know what? And like, let me see if I have a picture. I'll just show it to you.
But what I'm saying though,
What am I saying?
What I'm saying is you're not just, okay, would you rather just live your life selfishly where you get to be the brain, right? You get to be
that
brain.
first of all is not possible.
It's not possible. But imagine everybody else is enslaved because
even God, who had all power and everything it wants and has no need, still created something and was like, I'm going to try to help this work out for the best, whether you like it or not. Like, it's like some level in any religion, it's like, It's not like God just created it was like, I want to torture you. Even in
Right.
that, like the God who doesn't need anything was like, I still want to create other people's lives and then in some way, even if it's roundabout, help them get to the point of having a good time, you know?
And doesn't everybody actually deep down really want that? Like anytime you say like, I want to create something, what do you say it for? Because I want to help people. I want other people's lives to be better. Like you deep down, you really want this, right? It's just, okay.
No,
so,
it's just lack of vocabulary. It's just well, what you're proposing is not possible because they can't imagine it because
they can't see, because
they can't see it because they don't have the vocabulary, right?
Right.
Like I said the other day, it's easy for Mark Zuckerberg to see AI robots everywhere because he's read Asimov just like I have. He's read
Right.
fucking Otherland. I'm sure he's read
Okay,
Otherland.
Dick,
I'm sure they read Otherland. Okay.
They're creating it.
Oh God, I hope
must
they
have
didn't
read
read Philip K. Dick. That's some weird shit. Check this out.
Yeah.
Right?
Is that Max? What's he doing?
It's this little metal thing. It's got like a sort of like a blade with a ring around it. And you put a piece of firewood in there and you hit it with a mallet or a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
And then it splits the wood. So I'm over here splitting the wood, the big round logs, and then when they get small enough, he can put it in there and make it smaller. And this is not like all right, morning chores, you got to come do it. It's like at first he was in here playing chess when I got it put together, and I came in, I was like, Max, you're gonna love this thing. You get to split wood, hit with a hammer. And he was like, okay, yeah, I'm busy. So I was like, all right. He's doing some chess thing on the computer, right?
Yeah.
And after a while, they were done with computer time. They went outside, and I told Seneca about it. And then Max was like, because he probably wasn't paying attention the first time. And he was like, oh, he's like, that sounds fun. So then I showed him a few times, right? And they were like, this is cool. And then he kept wanting to do it. He was like, this is fun. And he already said, he goes, this is like work, but it's like fun. Like I think that what adults do when they work is they're actually just playing. Like they're just like what a kid is playing. He was like trying to explain this concept.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Awesome.
So it's like, why do we not want to work? The only reason we don't want to work is because we're not creating it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to come up with something unique that's only from you. You could, but you don't. How many people really, and I'm sure there are some people who really like their jobs.
Yeah.
But it's like, for whatever reason, they kind of more got to choose the thing that really resonates within them and that really just they get to express within it. But how much of that is the money incentive and also like, just, I don't want to sit at home and do nothing. And this is what's there for me,
Right.
And this whole thing about people will be lazy. If that were the case, there wouldn't be gangs. If you think about it, being in a gang can't be lazy if you're in a gang. You could say crime is lazy. That's you're quibbling. You know what I mean? It's not. It's work. It's still work. It's just illegal. You know what I mean? Like a criminal gang is still doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
My point just being like,
I think hang on, because I think there's this like with gangs, I think it's just more fun work. It's just that's all. Like, because there's a romanticism about it. Like,
yeah, but I'm sure actually being in a gang is not fun.
No. But like,
terrible.
there's definitely like a romanticism about cutting drugs and like doing this and then I don't know. You got people in their underwear, women in their underwear cutting your drugs. There's a romanticism about it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm sure
like,
they're romanticizing the point.
No, they're okay, fine, fair.
Well, I see your point, but regardless, my point just being like the idea that people will just be lazy if they have everything they need, that doesn't exist. So there are lazy people, but they don't have everything they need.
Right.
And I saw this thing. Oh man, did I take a picture of it? I was going to show you guys this morning. I might have sent it. Oh, here it is. I'll just kind of flash it because you probably won't. I don't know if you'll be able to read it on there. Right. But it's a woman at a grocery store, right? And it says, it was from like NBC News. It was like, YouTube, you could do like a story with a link or something. When you think of grocery shopping, the dollar store probably doesn't come to mind. Okay. For a lot of people, it does. Right?
Yeah.
So who are they talking to when they say that?
Middle and upper class.
Right, because there are many people like you live in the rural areas, like Dollar General is like the dollar store is like where people shop, right?
Right.
But did you know though? Okay, when you think of grocery shopping, the dollar store probably doesn't come to mind. But did you know those discount stores actually provide nutritional meals that cost way less than fast food combo meals? Content creator Rebecca, whatever, shows how to effectively buy food at a reduced rate.
Wow.
First of all, that is bullshit that they're nutritious.
Yeah, obviously.
That's like making, okay, that's like taking Katie's homemade bread, where it's very specific what's in it, and then going, see, bread is nutritious. And look, at the dollar store, you can buy bread. You don't have to go get fast food. You can buy bread at the dollar store. It's like, so that bread is the same as this bread?
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
It's more nutritious than the fast food place. So you're taking a step up. Come on. you were eating fast food to begin with. You know, so you're eating some like shit that was covered with glyphosate, and well, this is also covered with glyphosate. But I mean, you're eating some. You're eating fast food anyway. Might as well go to the dollar store. You know, it costs less.
Well, and then look at what my point about who is this talking to? It's not talking to poor people because they already know about dollar stores. They're not.
Yeah.
It's like also assuming that people are trying to buy fast food because they don't have a lot of money right now.
Yeah.
Because why would you be buying fast food all the time if you're interested in nutrition?
Right.
It's more like you don't have a choice. You're like, so this is all about people, inflation, not having money, also programming the point of like, hey, just learn to shop cheaply at the dollar store for your meals now. And like, that's like fucked. Huh?
She's a content creator. She's doing it for like,
but this is ABC News deciding to run that story of all the million things they could have decided to run a story about. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's specifically a programming point of, you know, it's like I said about Hillary Clinton. She didn't just randomly go on CNN and be like, oh, I accidentally said this thing about Trump supporters. Like, can you believe she said this out loud? I'm like, she wanted to say it on purpose. Yeah. Like, it's like.
I saw this guy, the Nick J. Freitas guy. I don't know how to say his name, but
Quintus?
No, not Freitas. No. But this guy, he's I'm pretty sure he's like one of the co-founders or the author of the Tuttle Twins. That guy. Okay. But he's pretty funny actually. He's pretty comedic. He's like, I saw this article the other day. Fräulein Clinton needing us to get into our camps and deprogram us. And, you know, when I read that, I was like, well, it's better than what usually happens when the Clintons don't like you. I was like, that's pretty funny. That's good. That's good. But no, it's interesting because, yeah, you're right. It is a point of programming. But, okay, check this
You know
out.
what I was thinking too? Well,
Go ahead.
I don't want to override your.
No, go ahead.
But you know, you were talking earlier about that point of like, oh, if I have to, then like, it's not my free choice. Then I don't have free choice if I have to help other people cheat, you know, all this stuff, right? And I'm like, well, it's like the trolley problem again with the grandmas. You know, now imagine that it's like you're not the one operating the switch; it's somebody else, and your grandma is one of the 5 grandmas, and they have their grandma. Who do you think they're going to save?
They're going to save their grandma. Fuck.
So if we have a world where every individual is like, well, I don't want to help everybody else. It's like, and then also all those people go to church.
Right.
Where Jesus said, give as you want to receive and, you know, treat your neighbor as you want to be treated. It's like.
So that actually, you know, goes perfectly with what I wanted to say because on the Hangout, somebody was mentioning, because the topic was basically like, you know, what's something that you've changed that you didn't think you were going to change. And somebody was talking about just drugs and alcohol, right? And this is so many people within our group. Like, no, I grew up.
They didn't think they were going to stop that stuff.
No, like drugs and alcohol was like part of life. Like all my family
No, you have
members.
to be like persuaded in a way. It's like you can't force it, but it's like give the reasoning why, and the person starts to realize for themselves.
And so it was really interesting because, you know, they were bringing up like, okay, you know, when you talk to somebody who like smokes weed or drinks a lot or whatever, and you're like, hey, I think maybe you might have like a little issue, like you should stop. And they're like, no, I can quit whenever I want. And always you ask them,
Then quit.
okay, why don't you quit? Well, I don't want to, right? And so the question comes up of like, why don't you want what's best for you? Right? Like, why don't you want like something that's actually good for you? Why don't you want what's best for all? Right?
Well, and this is part of the process of the changing what you want.
Yeah.
I
And
think I
so,
did a video on that, like, why do you want what you want or something like that, right? Because it's like people want a Ferrari. It's like, why do you want a Ferrari?
right.
Like,
Yeah.
do you know, like, I'm just thinking about it. It's like I have a chainsaw, right? I did a bunch of chainsawing yesterday. It was crazy. Like, we're just doing a bunch of stuff. We have an event coming up, you know, and so it's like,
Oh, I heard about that.
yeah, you heard about it. But there have been some storms recently, and so trees fell down, and so I'm also making more firewood and just, you know, basically just cleaning up things. So I was doing a lot of chainsawing. But it's like the chainsaw, you have to sharpen it, you have to put gas in it, you have to put the oil for the chain rather. And at some point, I'm sure we're going to have to replace the spark plug or something like that. You have to maintain it, you know. So like, why would you want a Ferrari? Like, you have to maintain that fucking thing, you know. And like, it's just so you can attract a woman or something. Like,
Yeah. That's interesting because people don't maintain what they have in their own lives, even. You know, like I'll give you an example. Growing up, I have a lot of family members that they take their sneaker game very seriously, right? Where if you were a child and you stepped on somebody's sneakers, you were getting yelled at like over sneakers, right? But they're so meticulous about their fashion. It's like, oh, you gotta take care of this stuff because you gotta look fresh, gotta be nice, all this stuff. And
the kids call it drip these days.
yeah, they call it drip, right? And when adults say it, it's kind of like gross. When adults say it, it's like, oh,
What's gross?
that you said the word drip.
Oh yeah, you like my drip? I'm like, you should get that checked out.
Oh. So anyway, but what was basically going on was the point that I wanted to bring up is people don't take care of like actual things in their life that actually matter. You know, they'll run things to the ground and just expect that, oh, I'll just buy another one, or you know, somebody else will take care of it, somebody else will clean my house, you know, all those sorts of things. It's like the reason why I'm bringing that up is because while I was listening to these equal money audios, Bernard makes this point of in the future, you know, we'll have things that last, but you'll have to maintain those things. And then to the degree that you maintain them shows your actual appreciation of what you have. But it's different than, you know, oh, I got to keep my sneakers nice and clean. Like, that's just like, that was more of a point of you want others to look at you like, oh, wow, look at his fresh kicks. Like everything he does is fresh. Wow. And it's like this kind of.
But literally, that just means you put time and attention on buying those clothes, wearing them, and keeping them clean.
Right.
It's like, why is that such a? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's such a. It's like you think it's such a big. It's like you won the fucking gold medal at the Olympics or something.
Right.
It's like all you did was wear clean clothing. That's a very specific style.
Yeah. Why is it such a?
What is the level of recognition you get from that? Why is
Right.
it so important?
Well, damn.
It's literally just like because their moms like yell at them so much for like they need to have clean clothes, but they don't realize psychologically they're just like living that out.
It's not just that. It's also that your moms will point out other people that don't have clean clothes and call them bums. And so then you're like, I don't want to be seen as a bum. That's why, like, there's a lyric.
So you spend all your money on clothing, and then like
exactly, right, and then you end up a bum in life because you spend all your money on clothes. There's a lyric in one of the Kanye songs. He's like, I can't even go to the grocery store without some ones that's clean and a shirt with a team. Right? Is basically like that is such a fundamental thought within the Black community, often the Hispanic community, just like, you have to be fresh. Oh, Christine has this story of either a friend or a cousin or a family member of theirs who they would go over to her house when they were in elementary or little kids or whatever. And they were so conditioned to be absolutely everything clean, everything fresh, that I guess this girl would come over to the house and she would start crying because the bottom of her shoes, of her clean white shoes, was dirty. Like literally the part that you walk on was dirty, and she would be crying. She's like, it's not clean. Like, that is the extent to which, you know, we're programmed. And also, it just goes to show, like, people don't explain things effectively to their children. Children don't understand a lot of things, and you know, there requires patience and building the child's vocabulary, etc. And I can see why people don't do that, but also it's like, this is the limited understanding that you get as a child, and then you're just left with that. That's what our society has become, essentially. It's just like, you got enough and you figured it out. We expect you to know these things.
It's just like that doctor you were telling me about the other day, where at a certain point they realized, like, hey, all the stuff I learned is just like a bunch of brainwashing bullshit, and you know, from like the pharmaceutical companies and all this.
Yeah.
That's, and I was just thinking about the point of like health. Like, people think of as health. It's like, oh, I take these fucking terrible vitamins that probably my body is not even absorbing. I'm probably pissing them out.
Yeah.
And like, they have this skewed idea of what health means, and they never questioned it. And it's the same thing with entertainment. It's the same thing with relationships. It's the same thing with your life, your job, your goals, your desires, everything. You know, and now everything that you think makes you unique as a human being, researchers are showing that computers can do it. Oh, dude, I didn't even show you this, I don't think. Maybe I sent the video. That Toyota one. Did you watch that Toyota video?
I did watch that one.
Let me play that one real quick.
Yeah. That one's a quick one. No, that one's, I really liked what he said at the end, but I'll let you play it and then you can share it.
If I saw that, or maybe I just didn't realize.
No, it was only 3 minutes. I'm sure you saw it. He said it again, but he was just talking about, was it this one? Yeah, this one.
This is like brand new.
Here at TRI, we believe robots should amplify people at home and at work. To achieve this, we conduct cutting-edge research to make robots more flexible, robust, and general purpose. We've had a bit of a breakthrough. Today, TRI is announcing a new method to teach robots dexterous skills quickly and easily. Our approach is built on a powerful generative AI technique called diffusion policy. This allows us to teach robots much faster and with significantly fewer demonstrations. The approach holds great promise for creating what we call large behavior models. Just like large language models have revolutionized chatbots, these behavior models will allow robots to perform useful work in ways never possible before.
Up until now, the majority of robotic manipulation work has focused on pick-and-place style tasks, where a robot is limited to relatively simple sets of objects it's rearranging. Our new approach goes significantly beyond that and lets us explore much closer to the limits of the hardware. TRI's robots are now capable of using tools, pouring liquids, and peeling vegetables. It's exciting to see them engaging with their environments in rich, multifaceted ways, and all achieved without changing any code or explicitly programming any new skills. Using this technique, we've taught over 60 diverse behaviors to our fleet of robots. The process starts with a teacher, demonstrating a small set of skills through teleoperation. Then, our AI-based diffusion policy learns in the background over a matter of hours. It's common for us to teach a robot in the afternoon, let it learn overnight, and then come in the next morning to a working new behavior. To make this level of dexterity possible, every part of the robot platform must be solid, from the hardware all the way up through the entire software stack. One key enabler is providing human teachers with a sense of touch or a haptic teleop device. Also, just like people, we found that robots learn better when they have a sense of touch. And a perfect example of this is the task of flipping a pancake, where the robot has to make contact with a surface it can't see. Without a sense of touch, it struggles and performs poorly, but is successful in learning the skill once it's able to feel its interaction with the environment.
This is only the beginning. Our team is deeply focused on achieving large behavior models that I mentioned earlier. We anticipate the next breakthrough will be when we train the robots with enough dexterous skills that they're able to generalize, performing a new skill that they've never been taught. To realize this, we're building a diverse curriculum for robot learning, essentially a kindergarten for robots, to teach them numerous foundational skills that are useful for working alongside people. We're on pace to teach hundreds of new behaviors by the end of the year and over 1,000 by the end of 2024. We're also leveraging our expertise in simulation to augment our real-world teaching. And finally, we're developing fundamental tools for fleet learning so that when one robot learns, they all learn. I've been working in robotics research for a long time now. The tasks that I'm watching these robots perform are simply amazing. Even a year ago, I would not have predicted we were this close to this level of dexterity. And the rate at which we're able to teach new skills is simply astounding. Nearly every day, I wake up to a new message showing the robot doing something it couldn't do the day before. This is an incredible time to be a roboticist.
That's cool.
Hold on. Before I, what they didn't talk about
To
is the realism of these
will be when
robots
we
they have.
train
Look
the
at
robots
this.
with enough dexterous skills that they're able to generalize,
It's crazy.
performing a new
Look at
skill
that.
that they've never been.
That's like burying the lead. I mean, I got one more I want to show because it's like building the context, and it's like no one can refute it. There
The
is
point
it.
that he says about like them learning new behaviors that they haven't been taught, that seems really crazy. Because I can see that with the LLMs, the large language models, but like with the large behavior model, wow.
We were just talking about this point with like the Tesla bots, right? And we were talking about,
Yeah.
you know, if they had like app stores and all, and then here comes Toyota going, yeah, so we're gonna teach one thing to everybody, you know.
Yeah,
Here, let me show this one real quick.
absolutely insane.
Have you ever wanted a 1-inch tall robot?
Actually, I have. It's like a whole army of them. You ever see that movie? What was that movie? Toy Soldiers? No. What was it called?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That actually creeped me out quite a bit.
Hold on a second. I mean, I know this is Chinese, but do they use? Hold on. Watch the screwdriver. I didn't go far enough back. He was turning it the wrong way.
Was he?
It was like going this way. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he was loosening something up. You never know.
All right. Here's the important part. Well, here it is. Pre-sale.
Resale. Wow.
First of all, how did the Chinese people pronounce the name of their own company?
Fuliel.
Fulia. They could probably say Fulia. I
Fulia.
fool you Americans into buying robots.
Fulia.
You didn't. You forgot to turn off the backdoor access.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
But yeah, it's like mass produced. Like the title of the video is like the world's first mass-produced humanoid robot.
Yeah. So okay.
China.
That's
China.
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 China. The China.
We have the best
China
robots,
virus.
believe me. The China robovirus.
Yeah.
The China computer virus.
Oh man, that's what's coming next. That's what's coming next. It's like everybody's got a robot, right? Well, not everybody, but the elite all have robots, right? And then all of a sudden, your robot is going down. So your robot has to wear a mask. Okay. I'm just gonna encourage everybody wear a robo mask because in China there's been a virus and they're spreading it like wildfire. We know it's coming from China. That's just happening in the next decade. Just, I called it. Okay, I just want everybody to know I called it.
At some point, Hillary Clinton like pushes a button on her phone, and it, like activates all the robots, and it's like, "Come with me, sir, to your camp."
You're like, oh, okay, all right, okay. Then you find out it's not actually a camp. It's one of those camps.
It's Epstein Island.
Okay, so now I can say this actually. Wait, I want to say this thing, but there's no context for it. I haven't given the right context. I'll say it. I'll tell you afterwards. I'll tell you afterwards because I want to say it, but there's got to be a specific context for it.
Well, on that note, maybe we should stop for today. We got 2 minutes before 11.
All right.
That's my new stopping point.
Oh, is that so?
Well,
Oh,
it's
wow.
noon your time.
Yeah, it's noon my time. It's like, I don't know.
I don't have anything else to say.
Okay, that's it. That's just tell the truth. Just tell the truth.
I'm out of coffee.
All right, guys. Well, you heard the man. He's out of fuel, so he's got to go fuel back up. And yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty good. Anyway, we'll see y'all next week. You guys know where to find us. Same bat time, same bat place. And yeah, bye.
Bye.